In both January and February 2018, the Supreme Court of Texas was informed that the governor of Texas was involved in an incident that actually was a form of securities fraud, but was also a violation of the Constitution. Per the constitutional process that is outlined, including originating in the Bill of Rights of the Texas Constitution, awards for victims of violence are processed through the Office of the Attorney General. Now, Greg Abbott was previously the Attorney General of Texas, but in 2018, he was in Houston discussing matters related to domestic violence assistance and crime victims assistance as the governor. I contend that that was absolutely and intentionally engaged in a disingenuous effort to subvert actual constitutional process and to acknowledge that he had already agreed to participate, if not himself facilitated, a kickback scheme that involved him abusing the office of governor based upon what he had set up while he was the attorney general. You know, he's not the only previous Texas politician that ended up changing office and using his prior work as a representative of public office in another position in order to incentivize other kinds of crime or abuse of the office he ended up occupying later. This seems to be a practice. The problem is it's highly illegal, and in the course of it being highly illegal, what it's done is it has aided and abetted comparable behavior in the private sector, as well as in matters in which the private sector intersects with the state, including on a local level. Now, I had to file a report with the police and was retaliated against doing so in early 2017. And the response I received in the course of twice being visited with violent reprisal or threats of violent reprisal by members of the police department forced me to leave the city and seek assistance at a domestic violence shelter. Unfortunately, at that domestic violence shelter, I was attempted for enticement or extortion into crimes, with concern that the kind of crime I was being attempted for extortion into actually was about much more significant crime. And indeed, it has been proven to be just that. Now, there are a variety of different manners and forms of assistance for victims of crime that are available under the constitutional system of Texas. One of those has to do with compensation for lost wages. That you're not able to go to work because every time you try to go to work or get a job, your abuser or the criminals that have subjected you to these crimes threaten you, including threaten you with your a life, or threaten your life, or they threaten the lives of other people, including by using your attempt to get resources to take care of yourself in efforts to extort you to cooperate with crimes visited upon other people. It has been several weeks, 232 weeks since this started, and I have received absolutely no assistance. I have been stolen from, I've been defrauded, I've had even my efforts to contact the Supreme Court of the United States stolen from me and used in crime, including in crimes that are connected to actions taken by people in a basic level in terms of trying to get access to resources through their job or even get jobs, all the way up to members of the United States Senate and, I contend, even the office of the President of the United States. Absolutely nobody has done anything close to act in a professional capacity. And as I've said several times before, every member of law enforcement in the state of Texas is required to receive certification on how to identify acts of trafficking and how to respond. I have been consistently cooperating with the investigation, and every police report I filed or tried to file, what's the status? Every report I tried to file with any of the state agencies or the federal agencies, what's the status? It's still outstanding. As of today, at the rate of compensation of $700 a week, which is the maximum they award per week, which is very, very nothing close to what I'm actually doing in terms of what would be considered a wage rate or what I would charge for my actual services that have been stolen and defrauded out of me. I am owed already $162,400. That's in addition to the nearly $22,000 that I was set to make in my first year alone as a part-time job as a bagger, as a shopper for an organization headquartered here in Texas that intentionally, knowingly, and willingly attempted to extort me on site to agree to cooperate with activity so unsafe I could not stay on site, And when I attempted to seek redress, was revealed to be involved in even more significant crimes, including crimes that interfered with processes ongoing through the judicial branch of government on the federal level. As of today, I'm owed $162,400, but here's the game. Will they cap the liability? Well, they'll give it to you at a certain amount, but you can't contest it. That's bullshit. This is 3 times. Already 3 times plus, not say ironically, 3 times the maximum cap plus a 1240. You know exactly what today is, don't you? Yes, you do. And you want me to settle for being a domestic worker who was part of a workers' movement to get some sort of acknowledgement for workers' compensation insurance for domestic workers. No, that was your hustle. You kidnapped me and trafficked me and set up an actual crime speed connected to acts of terrorism. And just because you got this process where you allow for a misrepresentation that other illegal activities that are being engaged at a very high level that presumably generates a lot of income is somehow a standard that allows for these other kinds of activities to go without impunity, doesn't mean it's acceptable. You owe me 3 times. You already owed me treble damages anyway because this was crime. And these were crimes committed by the state. And these were crimes committed by somebody masquerading that he was the attorney general, under the purview of somebody masquerading that he was the governor, under the purview of a legislature that refused to check them for their abuses and only aided and abetted crimes in the name of the people that have obligated us to debt you already know is not capable of being paid. You already know that. The problem is it's not our debt, it's yours. You shouldn't have done what you did, and you are guilty of crime. You owe me treble damages anyway. That 1240 is exactly what you guys hustled on. See, you got a bunch of teachers that you're trying to wrangle up and get involved in some sort of play as if this is somehow Texas history. Well, it is. You owe me for my SAT score. You owe me for my SAT test from when I was a school student at another school in another state that you decided you were going to peg somebody's pension on, and so it was justified to continue trafficking me and trying to extort me into agreeing to commit crime until I agreed to give him his pension. He didn't earn it. It wasn't his work. The state of Texas owes me treble damages to start. In addition to that, they also owe me a return to the place I was where I obtained my first Texas driver's license. I had to file a report with the police department in Fort Worth. That police report is already and still on file. That police report was filed after having to leave Houston and also having to leave Austin, after being threatened by people identifying themselves as being law enforcement or in some form of private security. I demand a return to the actual living arrangement I had before I was trafficked back to Dallas in time for the school year. And I demand $162,400 in restitution for lost wages to start.